Call the meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the August 2nd, 2022 Post Falls City Council meeting. Shannon, please note that all council members are present with the exceptions of Councilors Ziegler and Walker, who are excused. And we do have a couple of announcements. The Post Falls Community Volunteers is hosting their annual community picnic and concert at Camellan Park this Saturday, August 6th. Food and beverages will be available for purchase starting at 4 p.m. and the Jesse Quant Band will take the stage at 5:30. Join the Park and Recreation Department and Post Falls PD for another movie night in the park. Sing 2 will be playing at Syringa Park on Friday, August 12th. Bring your blankets and chairs and enjoy a movie under the stars. Movie starts at sunset. We do have one public hearing tonight, so if anyone wishes to testify, please fill out a form in the podium in the back and turn it in to Shannon. Are there any declarations of conflict, ex parte contacts, or site visits? Would you please, any amendments to the agenda?
There are none tonight, sir.
Notice how I reverse those?
Yeah.
But I caught myself this time. Would you please present the consent calendar?
Item A is minutes from the July 19th, 2022 City Council meeting. Item B is payables July 12th through July 25th, 2022. Item C is prosecution agreement with the City of Hayden. Item D is Greensferry Glen subdivision construction improvement agreement. Item E is Wellsprings annexation initial zoning reasoned decision. Item F is Wellsprings annexation agreement right-of-way and easement dedications. Item G is Wellsprings subdivision master development agreement. And that is all.
Any questions on the consent calendar?
Move for approval of the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Malloy.
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
Shove.
Aye.
Borders.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Now we're at the public hearing. Tonight's public hearing is the Barnum's addition zone change. Open the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor Jacobson, Council President Thorson, and members of City Council. John Manley, Planning Manager here, introducing the Barnum's zone change, file number SC 223. The applicant is Gordon Dobler, and he's representing the owner, Robert Wilhelm, of 923 Grange Avenue here in Post Falls. They're seeking to rezone approximately 0.54 acres from the current single-family R1 zoning district to the medium-density R2 zoning district. Here's the location hatched here. It's at the end of Elm Road, just north of I-90, a little bit southwest of the intersection, southeast of the intersection of Elm Road and West Dawn Avenue. Water provider of the site would be East Green Acres Irrigation, sewer being provided by the City of Post Falls, and to note there currently is a legal non-conforming duplex, meaning the current use is not in conformance with the existing zoning. So in essence, this proposal would create it to be legal and conforming. So looking at the zone change criteria, I'm going to kind of bundle the first two. We're looking at is the amendment in accordance with the comprehensive plan's future land use map and the goals and policies in the comprehensive plan. So the future land use map calls this area as being business commercial, and it's about a 1/3 mile south of Celtice Way. Looking at that district, you can see here that the category promotes a mixture of moderate, high-density housing types within walking distance of city center, neighborhood center, and corridor commercial. That's where that 1/3 mile kind of comes in as Celtice Way evolves over time. It would be within walking distance of some potential commercial uses along Celtice Way as it evolves. You can see the proposed zoning district highlighted in there, and you do not see the R1. So it would bring it in conformance with the comp plan as well. Looking at the zoning map of the area, you can see here surrounding it to the east and to the west, you see a yellow, that's all R1. Just to the west in the brown, that's R2, and then that's the site there. So you would have R2 being adjacent. A little bit to the west, you see some high-density multifamily just at that location there further to the west. Big picture, looking at where it's at, you have Celtice Way and Pleasant View interchange there. That kind of gives a better picture of the area and the road networks. So looking at some of the goals and policies, Goal 1, grow and sustain a balanced, resilient economy for Post Falls, providing community prosperity and fiscal health. Plan for types of quantities of land uses in Post Falls, supporting community needs and the city's long-term sustainability. That's Goal 7. That's not all of them. This is just a few of them from the staff report. And Policy 1, maintain and enhance community level service. There you see the fiscal health element there in Policy 1. Oftentimes that's paid with impact fees, mitigating its impact and it's on growth. Maintain and enhance residential quality of life. Promote compatible, well-designed development, and implement goals and policies in the comprehensive plan. Policy 2, here you see 5 elements of it. In the staff report, you can see a staff commentary on the infrastructure and service plans, existing and future development, and how this proposed development wouldn't negatively attribute any elements to this area. That ties into compatibility with surrounding land uses as well. Looking at and that kind of is a brief overview of the analysis of the first 2 criteria. Now going on to the next criteria, you're looking at zoning as assigned along considerations of street classification, traffic patterns, and existing development. And I'll go back to this slide here where you see this is at, there's Elm Road, Celtice Way. And I'll go back to the zoning map there where you're looking at some similar zoning to the west. Fourth criteria, commercial and high-density residential zoning is typically assigned along streets with higher road classifications. They're not asking for that. We removed multifamily out of R2, so what you would see there is either a townhome, smaller single-family lots, and or duplex on that site. Limited and neighborhood commercial and low-density residential zoning is typically assigned as they proceed further away from higher intense urban activity. So as far as commercial urban activities, there's going to be none in the general vicinity. It would be, like I said, that 3rd mile. It would be generally consistent with this criteria as it is proceeding further away to the south from Celtice Way. Acknowledging it is right near I-90, which makes for an awkward situation that generally speaking, lower density development aren't preferred when you're along a major highway like that, or interstate, I should say. The 6th one is industrial zoning is typically assigned for properties with sufficient access. They're not asking for industrial, so that one is more or less not applicable. Here's the agencies that were notified. Responses is as you see here. Police department was neutral on a couple responses. Cooney County and Fire Rescue, they reserved their comments at the time of site development and or subdivision. Then the Department of Environmental Quality, they had no construction-related commentary. They had only construction-related commentary, sorry. And then the Post Falls School District, they remain neutral. That kind of wraps up the staff report on this. Any questions
for John?
me? Yep.
It's only to be accessible from the one side, right?
Yeah, I'll go back to that. Yes, they would enter this site from Elm Road only. There would be no access from the east.
So that being the case, with .54 acres accessed only from the west side, I'm assuming no interior roads on a half acre. How dense could that possibly get?
From me looking at it, the most you possibly could get on that would be 4 single-family lots, meaning our minimum lot, with driveways off of Elm Road. We do have a provision in Title 12 now that the driveway approach can be no wider than 40% of the lot width, which allows for on-street parking, as well as for the 2 that would be required for each residence for off-street.
And there's a, excuse me, Joe, there's a duplex on that now?
Currently, there's a duplex on it now, and I believe there's some easements encumbering this, so whether or not they could net out 4 single-family homes, I don't know if that's possible.
Well, that duplex that's there now is pretty much smack in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, so there'd be, I don't have the measurements, but I think our minimum lot width for R2 is 30 feet now. So they may have 60 feet to the south, and they may have, I believe there's an easement to the north, which maybe the applicant can speak towards that could limit that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Sean. Applicant?
Gordon Dobler with Dobler Engineering. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just want to hit a few of the highlights. The reason this is coming forward is because the owner of this property also owns the property across the street, and that's an R2. He's developing it, and there's an existing unit that originally he wanted to move onto this property. So we put in a plat to split it into 2 lots so he could move it on, and discovered it was a non-conforming use. Duplex can't exist in an R1. So basically have to have it zoned as an R2 for the duplex to stay, which is the plan. We have looked at, gee, what could you do with it? 4 lots, I had a hard time even getting 4 on it. So I would say practically, that's not our plan, but from your chair, yeah, an R2, practically you might get 2 more units on there, 2 more single family. Because of the frontage in the area, it's kind of a wonky trapezoidal shape, so. Services are there. The development across the street would be already improving Elm Street, sewer, water. There's not a lot of moving pieces in my mind. R2 seems appropriate. It conforms to the comp plan because you've got business commercial and you're backed up against a freeway. So, I mean, really, that's it.
Questions, Mr. Dobler? See none?
Thank you.
Sir, anyone wishing to testify?
We have none.
None? I will close the public hearing. So as we go through the criteria, want me to read them this time?
If you want, or I can.
Go ahead. You do better than
All right, so the first criteria is the request consistent with the future land use map in the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Business, commercial, and R2's a implementing zone within that.
Any other comments?
No, it fits.
Okay. Number 2.
Number 2, is it consistent with the goals and policies found in the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Yeah, does provide a variety of housing types, housing within walking distance of, that's not a whole lot of commercial at this point, but certainly potential commercial in the future along Celtice. Completes the improvements to the street. Good enough?
Compatible with surrounding uses.
Compatible with surrounding uses.
Doesn't R2 bring it into compliance
It
with the
does.
comp plan?
It does.
Yes.
As John pointed out, R1 is not an implementing zone for this designation in the comprehensive plan. Number 3, zoning is assigned following consideration of such items as street classification, traffic patterns, existing development, future land uses, community plans, and geographic or natural features.
Well, it's R2 to the west. So
Did talk
it's-
about street classifications.
Yeah, at the absolute most, if somebody were to tear down the existing duplex and replace it with 4 units,
2 more.
you're not talking a significant number of trips to affect anything.
No.
Okay.
Okay, commercial and high-density residential zoning is typically assigned along streets with a higher road classification. I think John said this one's likely inapplicable because it's not a high-density use.
Agreed?
Number 5, limited neighborhood commercial is, and lower density residential zoning is typically assigned for properties as they proceed further away from high-intensity urban activity.
third of a mile away from Celtice Way, so, and can't go too much further south with the freeway, so.
And then lastly, the industrial zoning likely inapplicable as well.
Agreed.
Don't like to float a motion? Or any further discussion first?
I would move to approve the Barnum's addition zone change file number ZC-22-3.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Next item up is unfinished business, returning ordinances. First resolution is the fiscal 2022 fee update.
Okay. I would move to approve resolution fiscal 2022 fee update and to direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Next resolution is adopting compassionate separation personnel policy.
I move to approve the resolution adopting compassionate separation personnel policy and to direct the clerk to assign an appropriate number.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Roll call, please.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. First ordinance, schools district zone change.
I would move to place the ordinance, school district zone change file number ZC-22-4 on its first and only reading by title only while under suspension of the rules.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Motion passes, Mr. Wilson.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, providing for the zone change and zoning classification for the land described in Section 1 of this ordinance from single-family residential R1 to public reserve zoning district, providing for amendment of the official zoning map to reflect this change, providing that all prior zones applicable to lands described in Section 1 are hereby superseded, and providing an effective date.
I move to approve the ordinance, school district zone change, file numbers ZC-22-4, and to direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Roll call, please.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Next ordinance is mailbox parking.
Mailbox parking. I move to place the ordinance mailbox parking on its first and only reading by title only while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Roll call, please.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Motion passes, Mr. Wilson.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, Kootenai County, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, providing for amendment of City Code 1020.040 Sub A to provide for parking in front of mailboxes, providing for amendment of City Code 1020.050 to remove mailbox parking regulations from temporary restrictions, providing the remaining sections of Post Falls City Code shall remain in effect, providing for severability, providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law.
I move to approve the ordinance mailbox parking and to direct the clerk to sign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Shannon, please take the roll.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Last ordinance is the Wellspring annexation.
I move to place the ordinance Wellsprings annexation file number ANNX-0001-2022 on its first and only reading by title only while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Roll call.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Motion passes, Mr. Wilson.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, annexing property consisting of approximately 9 acres situated in the northwest quarter of Section 25 and a portion of the southwest quarter of Section 24, all in Township 51 North, Range 5 West, Boise Meridian, Kootenai County, Idaho, providing for amendment of the official zoning map, and providing for an effective date hereof.
I move to approve the ordinance Wellsprings annexation file number ANNX-0001-2022, and to direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. Roll call.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Want to do the last one?
Passes, thank you.
Not sure if they
Next
want-
item up tonight is the Cecil Road frontage along, that doesn't read right, Cecil Road frontage, along the sports complex, recommendation to award contracts. Thought we were missing a word or two.
Trying to keep it shorter. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Robbie Quinn, Parks Planner, and I'm here seeking council approval for 2 contracts related to the Cecil Road frontage along the Tullamore Sports Complex. So back in the beginning of June, we came to you for approval to bid this project, and just kind of a summary of what were included was the expansion of Cecil Road to its full width along our sports complex site, which will include the continuation of the road, the curb and gutter, the swale, multi-use path, all utilities, lighting, and then 2 ADA ramps on Prairie and Killdeer, and then the landscaping irrigation. So we put this out to bid on June 28th and then had the bid openings on July 19th. We received 2 bids, both under the engineer's estimate, which was $774,000, and our first bid was La Riviere, which was $669,000, and then the second bidder was Cecil Construction at $640,000. So both were responsive bidders, and our consultant as well as city staff recommend awarding the project to the low responsive bidder, Cecil Construction. And we're also seeking a 5% contingency for any unknowns that occur during construction, bringing the total request this evening for the construction of $672,000, which would be paid out of park impact fees.
Robbie, we have some experience with Selden, do we not?
They just got the Crown Point regrading. I'm not sure prior to that.
I know I'd seen that name, but. Any questions, Robbie?
Make it easy for you.
You want to make a motion?
I would move to approve the recommendation to award contracts for the Cecil Road frontage along the sports complex.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. Roll call, please.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks. Thanks, Robbie.
We have, and then one more contract, same project. This is for our consultant for the construction admin and observation. So basically their scope will include submittal reviews, inspections, construction diaries, materials. Basically they're going to be on site almost every day observing the contractor, make sure they're following the plans and specs. And so this contract would be for $66,452.
Robbie, does it say who the consultant is?
It's MTLA, right?
That is it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Terra Landscape Architecture.
Is that common to do?
What's that?
Is that common to do, to have a consultant?
Yes.
Most every project, yeah.
Yeah.
I would move to approve the consultant construction administration and observation contract for the Cecil Road frontage along sports complex project to MTLA.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. Roll call, please.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is new business, and we have one item, and that's the impact fee study.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight we have what is an update to some financial numbers within our current impact fee report. And so what we're looking to do is include some costs that were not included with the original facilities under the public safety impact fee, update the estimate for the land value under our Parks Department, and then update the transportation impact fee by the cost of the project. So those, when we did and adopted our current impact fee study, it was about a 2-year process. And so a number of those costs were out of date at that point. Council had asked us to come back with this update and then make sure that we're come back with a full impact fee study within the next couple of years. This gets us at least the costs that are correct, and then we would engage in a full impact fee study starting next year, in fiscal year '23. So this one, we would have the public hearings and try to have those fees updated in the October, November timeframe. And the only one that may hold us up and may come separately is just on the transportation impact fees study, because there's a number of projects in there. It may take them longer to get those numbers updated on the costs. We're not changing the actual projects, we're just updating the costs. But it does take time to get those
It
calculations.
does require a public hearing.
It does require a public hearing, yes. And there'll be public outreach to the developers and the
Sure.
typical community that we reach out to under the impact fee study updates.
So tonight, you need approval to proceed with this update or just schedule? or
To
is this
approve the
just-
contract
to
that's
approve the
attached,
contract,
yeah.
Okay. And then there's two parts, and the second part was in fact the impact fee update.
Yeah, that'll come later.
Later,
So
okay.
we will actually start that process in '23, so you probably won't see anything completed on that one. You will get a contract to do it, but the actual completion of the impact fee study, I would imagine, would occur in '24.
Okay. Questions? So we would need a motion, correct?
Yes.
I would move to direct staff to proceed with the impact fee study.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Borders,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. That works as far as, it'll have to come back for public hearing, but that motion gets
Yeah,
us
so
set.
this is essentially giving us the go-ahead to
Okay.
hire the consultant, that when we generate the numbers, then we go through the hearing process.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks, Shelley. Next item on the agenda is citizens' issues, and this section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the council regarding city-related issues that are not on the agenda. See none, we have administrative staff reports.
And we have none tonight, sir.
None tonight. Mayor and council comments? My only comment would be probably the obvious, and it's awfully hot outside. And that could make people maybe a little bit less tolerant. And in a world where we don't see a lot of civility anyway, it could strain that even further, so be nice. Would be my only comment. How about mayor, or council?
I'm good.
Don't need an executive session?
We do not.
So that is probably 28 minutes. That's the shortest meeting we've had in an awfully long time.
Couple of years.
Yes, sir.
So the next motion is?
Adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.